Okay, let's get to it. Um, we're going to run through some probability. So I got a match that I played yesterday, and I've taken away the analysis. And what we're going to do is, if people are watching this afterwards, then I'm going to ask you what you think the right play is and why. And so, just so that we know what was happening in the game before, so it's not just an isolated out of the blue position, show how we got to the position. So 4-1 for my opponent, 5-2, 6-3, my opponent pointed on me, then 4-6, I came out, 6-1, he made the bar, 6-3, I made the 15 points, and then he rolled double six, and suddenly I've got a decision to make. So I kind of cryptically entitled the video, "What is only 15?" So I think this is quite helpful, because what 15 is there are really only 15, well, there are only 15 non-doubles. And the reason I mention it is because when you realise that there are only 15, then when you're making doubling decisions and considering what numbers you might roll and what numbers your opponent might roll in return, you're only dealing with 15 non-doubles. And then, of course, there are 6 doubles. And so there are only 21 possible combinations. So this is a little bit of a digression, but when I go through and I'm doubling, and I know there are only 15, it means I don't really have to be, what's the word? Can't think of the word, but there's not that much work having to remember 15 numbers. 2-1, 3-1, 4-1, 5-1, 6-1, 3-2, 4-2, 5-2, 4-3. But you can list them yourselves, and maybe if you write them down, you see that it's not such a monumental task to see that there's not an awful lot that can go on in one dice roll. 15 non-doubles, 6 doubles. So if you have a 1-5, you can obviously roll a 5-1. So each of the non-doubles you times by 2, and then you get 30, and then you add the doubles, which can only happen once, and you get to 36. So that's what I was on about with 15. So it all really depends on who's watching and what level you are, but you should say stuff, and whether or not the basic 11 shots that you have when you need to hit a checker that's one away from you. So this is how it impacts in this position. Basically, because my opponent's got such a strong board, I need to minimize shots, and this is how I approached over the board. I saw immediately that I can bring 2 down, and it looks quite nice. If I put those, the checkers would go there. But then I realised that I would be leaving, my opponent would be able to hit me with 7s, 8s and 9s. And what this illustrates is just maybe it's obvious, maybe it's not, that when you add up 7s, 8s and 9s, to hit with a 7, you have 6 shots. To hit with an 8, assuming you can hit with all of them, you have 6 shots. And to hit with a 9, hopefully I've got this right, you have 5 shots. And when you add all of them up, then it makes 17 shots out of a possible 36, which is a lot, right? Now, this is why I was wondering what sort of level the three people are who are watching. But the basic in shot counting, let me get my rubber. The basic is that if you have, let's say I've got a checker here and my opponent is rolling, so ignore the 6-5 on the dice, my opponent has to roll, he can hit me with a 1. So almost everyone knows that this is 11 shots. He can hit me with any number that has a 1 on it, and if you count all the dice rolls that have 1 on them, there are only 11. That's because if you go through them, 6-1, 5, I don't know if you can see my hand, 6-1, 5-1, 4-1, 3-1, 2-1, all of those happen twice. So you have 5 times 2, and then you have double 1, which only happens once. So you have 10 plus 1, which is 11 shots. Again, most people are going to know this, but some people might not. Then if you put the checker to be hit now 2 spots away, and red has to roll the dice, and he wants to know how many dice rolls are going to hit this checker here. Well, you always are going to start well, it's not the only way, but the best way is to start with 11. 11 is going to be your base number, and then you might or might not have extra numbers that hit. Now, obviously, to hit, he's going to be able to hit with a 2. And we have worked out that any single, if you want to roll any single number in backgammon using 2 dice, you have an 11 in 36 chance of doing it. But you notice also that he will hit with not just a 2, but with double 1. So you have to add 1 to 11 to get the final number that will hit with 2s, since not only a 2 will hit, but also a double 1 will hit. Okay, someone give me a heads up in the box, and just, maybe this is too basic, but basically what you find, you end up that when you hit with 3s, you my mind is a bit haywire. I think you hit with 14 shots, 4s it's 15, 5s it's 15, and then 6s it's 17. And then you have situations where you don't just have one check. So, for example, you have the next situation, which is, let's say that checker is still there, and that checker can be hit with either one of those red checkers there that are on the 1 and the 2. Then you see that it can be any 2 and 1. And that base number becomes 20. And you can count count the number of dice rolls that you can roll a 2 and 1 with. And I guarantee it will come out as 20. So having said all that, let's get back to what I'm thinking about, probably what you guys are thinking about as well. But you might have missed. So what I said about 2 minutes ago was that when you add up all the indirect shots, you might get much more than a direct shot. So if I was to play these 2 checkers from the 15 point down to the 9 and the 10 points, I would be leaving, as I said, 7s, 8s and 9s, and it would make 17 shots. 17, whereas, let's see if we can do better than 17. Well, if I play a checker all the way to the 2 point and hit, again, I didn't find a better way of doing this, so, and then assume, well, let's do red, okay. The red checker's going to be on the bar, and this one's not going to be there. But red is going to be able to hit with any 2, right? But not only that, he's going to be able to hit with a number where his checker comes in and then he has also rolled a 1 in combination with his checker coming in. Right? Is that clear? So any 2 is going to be 11 shots, because as we said, the chances of rolling any specific number in backgammon with 2 dice is 11 in 36. Then you have to add all the numbers that hit otherwise that aren't 2s. And as I said, well, if you come in with a number and then you roll a 1, then you're going to be able to hit with this checker. So this is all looking like a bit of a mess. You will see that you'll be able to hit with 5-1, 4-1, 3-1, 2-1 we've already counted because it's got a 2 in it, and double 1. So by my reckoning, it's 11 plus, that's 2, that's 2, that's 2, and that's 1. So 11 plus 6 is 17 plus 1. You've got 18. If you hit from the 13 point, you leave 18 shots. So you leave more shots. So it doesn't do better. But the question that I alluded to, is the important thing to note is whether or not, if you go back to this possible 2 down play, whether or not all the numbers that you fear could hit actually could hit. Well, does every 7, 8 and 9 hit? Well, double 2's not going to hit because it's blocked by the 6 and the 8 point. So that's, let's say, well, let's do -1. Then double 4's not going to hit because it's blocked. That's -2. What else? Is double 3 going to hit? Yeah. So I'm just going through all the combinations of 7s, 8s and 9s that hit. And not all of them do, so there are going to be like about 15 shots. Alright, let's pep this up a little bit. Anyway, so hitting on the 2 point leaves more shots, far more shots. And then, unfortunately, it's not as simple as counting shots, but that's the counting shots element of it. There are other considerations, which are that if I play 2 down here, then I leave 2 blots, so that if one gets hit, then another can get hit subsequently. Whereas if I just hit from the midpoint, then I just leave one blot. And just for the sake of completeness, I did consider other plays like hitting twice, realizing that leaves 20 shots. The chance of rolling any 2 numbers on with 2 dice is always 20, and I know that there are going to be no more numbers, since there are going to be no extra numbers that hit, so I can be satisfied that this play is leaving 20 shots. So the shot counting wasn't the only thing I did in the assessment of the play, but it was very much a part of it. And I was just thinking about that as I was going for a walk, and I thought it might be helpful to some people to point out that sometimes leaving multiple indirects can be more than leaving a direct. So whoever's watching, what would you play? I'm not going to give you very long because I don't know if anyone's going to be brave enough to say. But I was far from sure, but I think you can see on the screen what I played. I've purposely taken away the analysis. Anyone want to hazard a guess? What you would play? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so XG thinks that the play that I made was best, and lucky for me, I mean, I'm far from completely understanding what's going on, but yeah, it had an element of shot counting in. Okay, so that was one position. I hope there are going to be more where shot counting is a feature. So just to recap here, my opponent's on roll. Oops, we can see his name. Doesn't matter. And he's thinking, should I double or not? Right? And probability, simple calculations definitely come into play. So you don't have to do this, but I think most humans would be best served by calculating how many numbers hit for red. And as I said, all twos are going to hit plus 7 ones. So unless I'm going crazy, the first thing that red should do is see that he's got 18 shots. Then, while I'm at it, I guess most people are going to know this, but I've had people that are very good players that still don't know this. So the chances of, let's say, he comes in and he hits me. What are the chances of me coming in on this board? Well, assuming that if I roll anything but a 5 or a 4, if I fail to roll a 5 or a 4, then I won't come in. And then you see that if you count up all the dice rolls, then 20 of them will come in with a 5 or a 4. God, my brain is... And 16 won't. I know that's basic. Okay, so going back to the doubling decision, so you know that as red you've got 18 shots. What does that kind of tell you? Well, it tells you that you've got you're 50% even money to hit. You're just as likely to hit as you're not. And therefore what it tells you is that you're quite likely not to hit, and therefore you can sort of think about what will happen if you roll a number that doesn't hit. So that's what red should be doing in this kind of position, thinking about how many dice rolls hit. Well, 50% of them. And what happens if I don't roll one of them? Am I in a good position afterwards? Okay, let's carry on and see what we can find. Chances of coming in on a 5-point board are severely restricted from 20 to 11. 11 numbers in 36. And that plays a huge role in backgammon. Generally, when you can only come in on one space, you often find that your opponent's winning chances, I mean, this is obvious, will increase tremendously. I'm just doing this on the hoof, as you can tell. Here's one. Okay, so we want to do this. I come in with a 5-4. I'm just clicking the analysis. When the analysis finishes, we can show what it looks like on the board after the play. Okay, so I've come in with my 5-4, and now my opponent wants to know, like, he's desperate to hit me. most beginners will even be able to see that what they want to roll is a number that hits me on that 21 spot. So we know that 4s are going to hit, and we also don't want to forget the long ranges. And the long ranges isn't limited to this. Like most people are obviously see that a 9 is going to hit, and then you're going to have to remember to discount any of the numbers that should hit that wouldn't. So for example, double 3 is blocked. And you find it's just a matter of counting and being precise. So obviously, clearly most people can see that 4s and 9s and anything else might hit, but sometimes it's just a matter of not missing things out and not forgetting. So going back, we see that 4s are going to hit, so that's 11. But then we can see that we have to add on anything that adds up to a 4. So 3 and 1 adds up to a 4. So that's another 2 numbers. Double 2 adds up to a 4. That's another 1. We can do double 1 now. So you've got to double 1 will either switch or hit. So let's add 1. Then we're going to add the 9s that hit, 6, 3 and 5, 4. That's 4 numbers because they happen twice. And then, just to be precise, we want to make sure that we can't get hit by one of these jobbies. Now, if one of these checkers was back on the 3 point and there was no anchor on the 15, then double 6 would hit and double 4 also might hit. But since that's not the case, neither of those numbers hit. So I don't believe you can hit with that checker because it's double 4 is it's 16 away, but it would hit with double 4 if it wasn't blocked. So in all, how many checkers are going to hit that checker? How many numbers are going to hit that hit checker? 11 plus 2 plus 1 plus 1. Oh god, it's 19 over 36. So how does that help you? Well, it doesn't really, and it kind of does at the same time. It just shows you that you're like maybe have more numbers than you really thought. If someone asks you the question, you might say, oh, about 15. And actually, when you count them up, there are more. And not only that, you can convert it into a percentage and see that it's over 50%. So I know basic stuff. Without people saying anything in the chat, it's difficult for me to gauge. Ideally, people could ask questions. So that was just to recap on that point. Don't forget to add everything that could possibly hit from way back. What have we got next? I hope this is going to be a really short session. What have we got next? Let's come up with something. Okay, here's this 6-1. This is a common one, right? So my opponent rolled a 5-3, made the 3 point, obviously. So he gammoned me, bastard. So I'm 4-0 down. 6-3. I split with a 6-3 to his bar, and then he wants to know like how likely is it that he's going to hit this checker here, right? So this is an application of what I was alluded to about way back in the session, which is when you have more than one checker that can hit. Here you can hit with a checker that's one away, 1 pip away, and a checker which is 6 pips away. And I said it, but I'm just going to recap. The basic number is 20, and then you have to add anything which adds up to 1 or 6 that isn't a 1 or that doesn't have a 1 or a 6 or a 6 in that also hits. So you'll see that 2 hits, 3 hits, 4-2 hits, and that should be it, because it should add up to 24. So when you add 4-2 is going to be 2 numbers, 3 is going to be 1, 2 is going to be 1, that's 4. Add 4 to 20, you get 24. So 24 dice rolls out of 36 are going to hit that checker. Then you might say, well, what's the chances of, I'm red, I really want to hit yellow here, what are the chances of me hitting him at all? And this is like this kind of idea where there's more numbers than you think that are going to do stuff. That's very, very broad brush, I know. So you've got your 24 numbers that are going to hit here, this little jobby. But then you've got other things that do stuff. Let's not, I mean, we're not going to include ridiculous hits, but hits that are beneficial. So also red can roll 5, which isn't going to be counted in the numbers that hit on the 18, but is going to hit there, right? So then he's going to have, like, if he wants to know roughly how many good numbers he's going to have, then 25. Then there's going to be the possibility of hitting that checker. Well, we know that that's going to be hit with 6-3, 3-3 or 4-5, but 6-3 and 3 are already counted in hitting that checker here. So we can add 4-5. So for what it's worth, like red, we can say to red, well, you've got 27 numbers that hit a checker, which is kind of good for him. Some hits are better than others. Then going through with someone in one of my private sessions, I showed him that we've got this dice distribution feature here, and yeah, come on. So I believe, so what this is showing me, if you can see on the screen, is from top to bottom what red's best numbers are. And this is helpful in just getting a grip on how many dice rolls there are, what combinations there are, just getting conversant with them. And the best way maybe is doing this dice map. You can see that if you count the boxes, you get 36. And the boxes with the green colour have the highest equity for the side on roll, and I think the ones with the dark red are the worst. You can see maybe in this 6. So if red was to roll 6 now, the value after making the correct play, which the computer shows is 24, 18 twice, 13, 7 twice, would be 0.364. That's his best number. And then, you know, anything in yellow or orange is okay. So if we go back to details, it actually has a list. 1 is going to be next best, 3, and this is very good. A good tool for being able to see what is the best improvement you can make in a position. But it's also good with probabilities. It's also good with getting you conversant with all the dice rolls. Right. So yeah, what I set out to do was to try and show instances in this game where I was doing sort of probability calculations or counting shots, and I've yet to only identified one, but that's what you get when you don't prepare. But it still can be helpful. So for example, like here, this 4-2, here's a little one. I'm like, again, thinking, well, I have to leave a shot. So this theme seems to be that you often think about probability when you have to leave shots, and you're trying to minimize them. And so, well, it's pretty obvious that I'm going to consider coming out here, and that's going to leave, if anyone was actually brave enough to say anything, that's going to get hit with 3s, that's going to hit with 2-1, but not with double 1, so it's going to hit with 13 numbers from here, and then we're just practicing now. And then 6-5 is going to be able to hit as well, which isn't counted in the 3, obviously. So you have to add it on, and there are going to be 15 shots. And that was basically just a quick thing, what's going through my mind. It's like, it doesn't decide what the right play is, but it does kind of give you an idea of, oh, 15 shots, that's quite a lot, but it's not as much as half, so it's not so bad. It's not so bad. Okay, what more can how else can I help? Duplication is an example of probability. So here I had a 5-6 to play, and the best play is to, I mean, the other plays are rubbish anyway, but one of the reasons that coming to the 14 point here is good is that it gives few extra numbers for red to be able to hit you with, since he's mainly only going to be able to hit you with the 2 that he's already going to be able to hit you with here. And since you're trying to minimize his shots, that's a good thing for you and a bad thing for him. But what you have to notice is, does anything else hit the checker that you've just put in range of 2? Well, yeah, this one's going to hit from the 7. 5-2 is already counted because it's got a 2 in it, but it's going to hit with 4-3. So this is going to give an extra 2 shots. So it's just to be aware of how many shots you're leaving, and then what you do with the information is basically up to you. But it's helpful. It's helpful to have a slightly more refined a more exact number of how many shots are going to hit, or how many shots you're going to hit with, depending on which side you're on. Okay, so here I'm going to say that I want to hit with the 4-5. I'm going to hit from the 9. I'm going to hit the checker on the 5 with the 1 from the 9, and I'm going to hit the checker on the 1 with the 1 with the 6, and that's going to be my 4-5. And then I want you to tell me how many shots that leaves. And again, when I was thinking about making that play, I didn't really calculate, but I had a rough idea of how many shots that leaves. And I think that that's quite helpful. So if I put the position on the board as it looks after you make the the double tiger play, hitting both, you can see that in order for red to hit any one of those checkers, he has to roll any 5 or 1. And we decided that that's going to be 20 numbers. And then we've got to see that, does anything else hit? Well, there is, in this instance, there is no number that's not got a 5 and a 1 in that's going to hit. So for example, what we have to say, well, what would double 2 do? Well, double 2 won't hit. Double 3 won't hit. So you can rest assured that only 20 numbers are going to hit you back. Let's see what else we got. And as I just go through, I notice very small things that are, you know, they're not groundbreaking, I know, but they're things that go through my mind, so I assume they go through other players' minds, and so they might be helpful for people who are not that conversant. So I managed to get in a good position. 4-0 Crawford, by the way, so there's going to be no cubing in this game. But red is on the bar, and I've got 4-1 to play. So I'm basically like, know that, well, while he's on the bar, I just want to get my checkers round from the back. That seems to be the right strategy. But what I'm concerned about is him coming in and hitting me. So as I make this play, for what it's worth, I'm thinking, how many shots does he hit back with? Now, I'm not always counting precisely depending on how lazy or not I'm being, or how methodical I'm being, and how much time I've got. But the best play is to come out, but we can see, like, well, how many shots is that leaving? So again, this is bleeding obvious, but let's just do it anyway. Red has to come in, and in order to be able to hit that checker, he has to come in and then roll a 3. So the only numbers that come in and roll a 3 are 5, 3 and double 3. And of course double 5. See, I almost completely missed that myself. So I know immediately that, what do I know? I know that I'm only leaving 4 really good shots for him. That's not so bad. And then, as his next best sort of hit, I think it's not as good for him is the situation where he hits this checker on the 20 point. So in order to do that, he needs to come in and roll a 1, and that's 5, 1 and 3, 1. None of those numbers hit that checker there, so they're not duplicated. 5, 1 and 3, 1 are 4 numbers. So again, for what it's worth, when I come out, my opponent's got 8 good numbers, and then actually the double 5 is very good. I wondered, did he roll double 5? No. Again, the probability doesn't dictate anything. It's just information that can hone your decision making. In other words, you don't really need to know probability, but I believe that it's something that you kind of need to transcend and then get rid of just by playing by intuition. So just to recap, in making this 4-1 play, I was kind of thinking, well, how dangerous is it? Not that I was going to make any other play, but it's just a thing that went through my head. And then just as a follow-up, I have a 4-3 to play as yellow. Obviously, I'm going to play from the 20 to the 13. And again, I was aware that I had to leave this shot here. And it was just in the forefront of my mind that I was going to be leaving, I don't know, I thought 15 shots was the number that probably came into my head. So again, when when we look at how many red has to hit with a 3. If this checker is here, in order for red to hit it, he has to roll a 3. So he can roll a 2-1 as well, which is going to be 13 shots, and then he can then hit also with a double 5 and a 6-4, which is, if you add them all up, it's actually 16. So my intuition, my kind of number that came to my head was slightly wrong, but again, that was what was in my mind when I was making that play, kind of thinking, well, it's pretty likely I'm going to get hit, and therefore what I'm sort of thinking is I can't really expect not to get hit, because I do get hit quite often, so I haven't won the game from this position, is what's going through my mind. And maybe that can be helpful, maybe it's not helpful. It can be helpful to moderate one's expectations. And yeah, I think that we could probably dispense with the previous 15 minutes or whatever, however long I've been going for. But yeah, what it's helpful for, this counting shot stuff, is moderating expectations and kind of knowing where you are and realizing the likelihood of things happening from certain positions. And just to carry on with that theme, he did hit me, and I'm kind of knowing that, well, I'm 21 pips up in the race, and I got 2 spots to come in, so I'm 20 and 36 to come in, and I'm still doing okay, so I don't need to be despondent. That's kind of where the probability comes in for me. If I don't come in immediately, he hasn't got such a good chance of improving his board, is the other thing that I'm looking at. So, for example, if I don't come in, he will only be able to make the 5 point with 5-2, 5-1, 2-1, and double 5, which is, I don't know how many shots. And then he can make the 23 point with 5-4 and double 4. And so those are the kind of things that I'm looking at when I'm playing. What else can I say that's helpful? So again, carrying on from, if we get to this position here, and I came in with a 5-3, amazing number. I thought it was all kind of done and dusted, and then my opponent rolled he only manages to come in and hit with 3-1 and 5-1. So I kind of knew that double 5 isn't going to hit because it's blocked now. So after rolling, what I'm saying is, mate, is after rolling my 5-3 here, I was pretty much thinking that this game, all the shenanigans in this game are over, because he's really unlikely to be able to hit me back. I'm safe. Yet he did, and it kind of threw me off balance, but I should have known that it was unlikely. My probability formulation in my head should have helped me there. And so what I'm trying to get to is that when I get to this position, even though I found with a 6-4, harking back to, well, he's still got 2 points open in his board, and I'm 37 pips up in the race. The chances of him being able to, let's say, what's good for him, to be able to make the 23 point, well, he needs to roll a 3. So I know that that's going to be 14 times in 36. Okay, I can fade that. That's not a big deal. And then, okay, what about, what else? He's got double 4 and 5-3. Well, 5-3 is already kind of a good number of him there, so it's kind of duplicated, although he much prefers to hit with a 5-3. Well, he's going to have to hit. And yeah, that's what's going through my mind for what it's worth. So yeah, even after fanning, I'm like, well, big deal. I'm still going to win this game. Um, double two he rolled, which was obviously devastating for me, and so therefore then like I'm not even thinking about probability. It just all goes out the window. It's just my expectation is that he can't win this game, which is irrational. But um, so I hope this is being moderately helpful. It's difficult to, without having questions, it's difficult to know what to say. But it got to a position where my opponent managed to hit me and get a 5-point board. And this is what I was saying, that 5-point boards can be, and this is not really a rational, well, it's not a rational statement at all, but you can find that it's difficult to come in on a 5-point board as opposed to a 4-point board. So I didn't come in for, I don't know, 4 rolls, which 4 rolls in backgammon is going to make the race swing enormously in your opponent's favour. What else? What else can I say? So I've got a 4-2 to play here. The probability is definitely going to come into this. So what I'm doing here is well, this is not so much a probability thing. It's kind of a pattern thing. But let's say I put this checker, I bring this checker in. Let's say I play it all the way, although I can play it to there and play the checker on the 4 to the 2. Then I know that there are going to be some dice rolls that I roll subsequently. Let's do this in a better way, so we can put it on the board so you can see it more easily. So let's say this is what it looks like after I make XG's suggested play. It's going to look like this, and I know in the back of my mind that the next roll I'm going to have to leave shots, and I can maybe, well, probably I should be counting before I actually pick up the dice and make this play what numbers are going to leave shots. So I don't know if it's worth doing this really. Double 6 is going to leave a shot. Double 5 is going to leave a shot. In fact, and 6-5 is going to leave a shot. You see, it's just a matter of kind of seeing them. 6-4 is going to leave a shot. 5-4 doesn't have to leave a shot. It's going to break the 6-point. So again, it's a for what it's worth thing. You're going to be leaving 6 shots if you do that. If I've counted correctly, which is likely that it's possible that I've made a mistake. Whereas I went for this play, which I didn't really count, but again, it takes my brain a little bit of time to see that I don't think this leaves. Oops. I don't think that I have to be forced to leave a shot with any number, unless I'm missing something. On this go. So again, an application, I suppose, of it doesn't tell you what the right play is, but it tells you, it might help you make your decision. Because I guess it's obvious, but I'll say it anyway. Again, when you're comparing between this play or this play, you're not comparing like with like. So you can't just count the shots. which I knew, but I didn't get it right. Okay, so what else do we have? What else do we have? Let's just see. Maybe this is we can talk about doubling decisions, which has hopefully has a relevance to counting shots and probabilities. So my opponent's leading 4-2. I haven't doubled yet. We get to this position. So I'm hoping for to achieve a gammonish position. And so therefore I can see that when I get to this position, I've got one on the bar, I've got many, many numbers that are going to hit something because he's got all his checkers open. And so I suppose one of the points here is it doesn't matter so much whether the checker is outside or inside the home board. All that matters, assuming we understand what's going on in the position, is that all that matters is that we kind of execute a blitz and that we hit our opponent in some part of the board, and that by doing so we prevent him from anchoring and hopefully close him out. And here I can see, although I've got ones to hit there, that if I come in, if I manage to bring this checker in and roll either a 1 or a 2, and to a lesser extent a 5, then I'm going to hit something. So I'm thinking, roughly speaking, that anything that comes in and that has a 1 or a 2 on it as well is good for me. So anything with a 1 or a 2 normally is 20 shots. But here I'm on the bar. We know that anything that has a 1 or a 2 with a 6 isn't going to be able to hit, since the 1 or the 2 will have to be played to bring the checker in. So we have to discount 1, 6 and 2, 6, which is 4 shots. And so we've got 16 shots. What else can we say? What else can we say? Just going through to see if there's anything helpful. Okay, yes, so here we have some pay now, pay laters, which are definitely predicated upon shots and how many shots you're going to leave. So I'm going to be ahead in the race by 11 pips after the roll. So really I want to kind of clear here, and I'm definitely, if I clear the 18 point, I will play 18, 13, 18, 14. So there'll be a checker on the 14. That's meant to be in yellow. And then my opponent will be able to hit me with any 3. Double 1 will be blocked. So that's any 3 is going to be 13 shots. and then he's going to be able to hit me from here. Of course, not all hits are equal, but if you're just counting shots, then 5-4 is going to hit as well, and the 6-3 and the double 3 wouldn't hit, but the 6-3 is already included because it's part of the 3 that hits from the 11. So you only have to add 2, and that leaves 15 shots. And well, am I counting shots? Am I talking shit? Probably. I am kind of. The fact is that even if I was leaving 11 shots, I probably wouldn't break the anchor. But knowing that you get hit 15 times, as opposed to, let's say, you choose a play that doesn't leave a shot, where you get hit 0 times, that's like an enormous difference. So it can often point you in the direction that you should really not pay now, unless you really need to, unless your opponent's board is improving. Just, yeah, maybe that's the lesson there. 15 shots as opposed to nothing, or 11 shots as opposed to nothing, is it's not worth giving away. And often in backgammon, we're just trying not to get hit. That's happening a lot of the time. What's going on? Yeah, I don't want to state the obvious, but here obviously I realised I had six shots, so I'm just thinking 6 in my mind, which is 16%. 6 out of 36. Oh, it's 16.66%. That's quite a lot. If I roll it, I'm doing really well. So I'm like always moderating expectations. And they get also, you can do that in races like this. Well, yeah, for example, he rolls when he misses with, he's got 4 checkers and he rolls a 5-2 and he misses, then I'm doing okay, but I can still miss. But I was nevertheless happy to see that he rolled a 2, meaning that obviously I can be off in 2 rolls and win. And I got lucky, and I did. That's kind of an application. I'm stretching the application of probability. Okay. It hasn't gone as well as all 3. Beautiful. We got the verdict. What? All 3s, 5, 4, and 2, 1. What was the 17? Now, what did I fuck up? 13. Yeah. Yeah, I don't give a shit as long as someone's actually saying, yeah. So 15. Yeah. So all I'm saying, the verdict is it's just so basic, but it's a matter of, like, just as you did, you got it kind of. 17, was it 15? Just like getting it, being a bit precise. Obviously, we can just make mistakes, but But what? Yeah, it's just a matter of. It's like counting your fingers on your hand. Maybe this is again a stretch because this 4-3. Where are we? So I got a 4-3 to play. I'm on the bar, right? I didn't hit, and I kind of thought, well, I should play the checker in from the 8 point and make it safe. And then I thought, oh no, just play the checker in for the 9 point. And the reason I played the checker in from here was I thought, well, the number of shots that managed to hit this checker and cover are, well, I initially thought, well, they're not going to be very many, but it's only going to be double 6 and 6 and 3. So I thought if there are only going to be 3 shots that hit and cover, then I'm going to just leave the shot. And again, knowing that 3 shots hit and cover doesn't really tell you anything of itself. It's just, it can help or not. As it happens, it went the other way and made me make the wrong play, because I suppose I just don't want to get hit at all, and he's going to hit with any 6. But anyway, 3 shots, that's the impact of probability there. Only 3 shots hit and cover. That's not so many. I think that's going to be it. I don't know why you retracted your message. They were lovely messages. It's really, at least knows that someone's watching and interacting. That's what it's there for. I thought there was going to be more, to be honest, but it's, as it turns out, what can you do? There was just okay, maybe one last thing I'll say, that I'm like, what seems to be one of the major themes of this, I didn't realize it would be, is how probability can moderate your expectations. And so before my opponent rolls a 5-2, he makes whatever this play, this is what it looks like after the roll, and I'm on roll here and I'm thinking I'm pretty good to go, but I don't want to roll anything. I know that I don't want to roll anything that forces me to take a checker off the 6 point without taking another checker off the 6 point. I know that that's going to be a bad roll. I know it doesn't leave a shot immediately, but I know it's going to put me in a bad position, so that when I then subsequently, I don't think I necessarily saw that 6-4 did that in the blink of an eye, but when I did roll the 6-4, I started to think, oh, this could go wrong, since that's what this roll did. It forced me to take a checker off the 6 point and leave me with 3 on the 6 point, and forced me to take a checker off the 4 point. Of course, I should have said that bit, so that it looked like this. And now there's nothing really, that it doesn't really make a difference what my opponent rolls, but he rolled a 5-1, he came out, and now before I roll the double 2, this is what it looks like after he makes his play. I've got to roll the dice. Before I roll here, I'm worried about certain rolls are going to leave shots, like double 6, double 5, 6-4, 6-5, 5-4 is going to create a gap. What else? It's just uncomfortable. I mean, yeah, and I'm not even counting, but maybe that's a facet of probability. And that's pretty much it. I got hit and I lost. Where are we? Well, I just wanted to say So only 11 shots, of course. And when I was in this position, I thought, well, I've got 5 checkers off. I've got a reasonable chance of still winning because I'm going to have multiple goes to come in with a 2. So what we can do is we can say, okay, this is the last thing. I'm not even 100% sure of my maths here, but let me see if I can figure it out. So the chance of me coming in on the first go is 11 in 36. But the chance of me coming in 2 goes is 11 in 36 times the probability of me not coming in on the first go, which is 25 in 36, times me coming in on the second go, which is 11 in 36. And if you times 25 and 11 in 36 together, you will get something like, I don't know, 260, whatever it is, over 1296. So if you add the 260 over 1296 to the 1136, you get, I think, something in the region of about 48%. And then you can carry on doing the same maths. So not coming in on the third go, I hope I've got this right, is the coming, if you don't, you have to have not come in on the first or the second go. So it's going to be 25 over 36 times 25 over 36 times 11 in 36. And then when you add that up, you'll get something like, I don't know, 65, 66% being able to come in on the third go. That's a little bit helpful, I think. I think I'm about right that if we were just going to remember without doing the maths, I think you're about 50% to come in 2 go if you have 2 rolls at it on a 5-point board. And then when you see that you've got 3 or 4 goes, you're going to be like 60 and then 70%. And that is going to be it, because it's difficult to do this cold without anyone asking questions or whatever. I'm almost did it. I came in with a 2-5. You're always going to have the shot, and then he hit me with a 6-4. And that was pretty much that. But the verdict, thank you for watching, and thank you for your comment, and please subscribe if you haven't. All right, bye.